Hey Ospreys, I'm Ashlyn Galaki.
I'm John Watson.
I'm Dwayne Donald,
and this is Spoilercast. They were reviewing
1917.
You have a brother in the 2nd Battalion.
Yes, sir. Is he alive?
And with your help, I'd like to keep it that way. But they're walking into a trap. Your orders are to deliver a message calling off tomorrow morning's attack. If you don't, we will lose 1,600 men. Your brother among them.
There is only one way this war ends. Last man standing.
What the hell are you doing, Lance Corporal? No! No! No!
If you fail, it will be a massacre.
Well, I did watch the Golden Globes before watching this movie, and I was aware that it was nominated for Best Director with Sam Mendes, and it also won the Best Drama Action Picture. So because it had already been nominated for awards and won, I knew that this was going to be a great movie.
You know, I'm not really a big history buff, but I know that World War I was a major part of our American history, but I didn't really understand much about the British side of the war, so it was kind of a cool way to learn more about what went on throughout those battles, and that's kind of what I'll go into further on, talking about this movie.
The movie kind of shocked me in that, you know, I hadn't really watched the trailer too much. I hadn't really done any research into what the movie was about, but so no prior thoughts before, you know, watching it.
Benedict Cumberbatch in the film, Colin Firth. So those are pretty all-star cast.
When I first heard about it and I did see pictures and stuff, I was probably most excited about George McKay, who's in it, because he was in a film with Daisy Ridley from Star Wars. They were in Ophelia, and he actually played one of the lead characters in that. So I knew of the actor, and I liked his work in that movie, so I was excited to see what he was going to do in this movie.
I like a lot of wartime films. Like there's one I like called Fury. There's Saving Private Ryan. There's Hacksaw Ridge. Also Captain America, that counts too, because it's a soldier. Pretty cool one too. I didn't think it would be as good as it was actually. You know, I saw a lot of rave reviews, nominees for awards, but after watching it, I see now why it's one of the best films of the past year, I'd say.
So before we get ahead to the next bit, this is a huge spoiler alert.
This is going to basically be your Spinaker Spoilercast.
Spoiler alert. Okay, I might get some flack here. Did the British win World War I? They did. They won. Yes. Spoiler alert. They did win.
For those of you who haven't watched the movie, we're going to be talking about it in depth, but for those of you who have watched and want to learn about it, keep watching.
The film takes place April 17th, 1917, or is it April 16th? I forget.
It's about the journey of Corporal Blake and Schofield and their journey that they go on together to deliver this important message to an army base that's just a good whiles away. They have to go through towns.
And that information would call off an attack which would save 1,600 lives.
So Schofield he was initially a side character, a cautious character who he didn't really like to take risks. He was kind of hesitant to go straight into enemy lines and try to find the other troops. You know, he was kind of wanting to wait till midnight, but his other side character, I don't know his name, I'm sorry, Aisling.
One of the people in the platoon are one of the main character's brothers, Blake's brothers.
There's one big moment where basically Schofield's trapped underneath this bunch of pile of stones and rocks, and the side character basically just saves him, and it kind of shows how how united they were as a group at the time, that they're kind of go no bounds to say one of their own.
One of them dies, sadly.
The shorter gent, the side character, he passes away.
Blake does pass away. He's trying to, a plane crashes and he's trying to save the persons in their life, but it turns out to be a German soldier, and while he's trying to save the German soldier, he stabs him and he passes away. So really then it's all about Schofield, and he has to get in there and just try and figure everything out on his own.
There was a lot of intense sequences, but there was also a lot of like emotional sequences with, there was one scene where he was in a French town, and he meets a woman, and she has a baby that's not hers, and there's a whole 10-minute sequence where he's just talking to her and getting a feel for what life's actually like, you know, in the towns that are ravaged by the Germans, and you know, during this time.
We see that Schofield he changes from a cautious guy to a heroic guy. He kind of knows that he's doing this for himself. He has no one to rely on, so he goes and this awesome journey across enemy lines in different towns.
My favorite scene was probably when Corporal Schofield was running through the burning downtown. At this point, we weren't sure if he had died or not, because he had just been shot earlier on. So he woke up and he's just running through this burning town, and as it's happening, the Germans are up and they're trying to shoot him and stuff. But just the lighting and the effects of it, the town, it was just blazing and stuff. It looked really cool watching from an audience point of view, so that was probably my favorite scene.
My favorite scene, I would say, is when there's a scene where he's at the other troop that he finally finds. He tries to find the captain.
Basically trademark scene of the film where he's running across the front line
through gunfire to go find Benedict Cumberbatch, and that's a really cool scene because it shows like just the cinematography of the angle it was. He just runs like Usain Bolt-esque, you know, and he finally finds Cumberbatch.
I believe they only had 4 takes of that one that they could do, and you know, in the 4 takes they had to get one right. And there's also in the scene, probably in the trailer somewhere, there's he runs into someone, and they just kept that in. You know, they didn't even say, hey, let's retake this, maybe don't run into this guy. But I think he ran into 2 people actually in the final cut, and it was really cool to see them have guerrilla-style filmmaking. One
of the ones you probably remember like for a good bit, referencing this film.
So my favorite character in this movie was probably Corporal Blake, just because of his kind heart and his attitude. It was him who originally he was given the important task to go ahead and deliver the message, because it was his brother that was part of the platoon. So it was just his heart, and that he would sacrifice anything just to make sure that his brother was okay.
I'd probably say Schofield. You know, it might be a popular pick, but the dude went through a lot. You know, he fell in like a river and lived somehow. He's a really awesome guy who changed throughout the film, and that's what we want to see out of a character, the multidimensional part of him.
There was the one guy played by the guy in Kingsman, the guy who gets blown up in Kingsman. Sorry, another spoiler alert. But he was a really good character, as in he wasn't in the movie much, but you could definitely tell that his acting was spot on, because I thought he was actually playing the role.
Out of 5 sales, I'm definitely going to give this a 5 out of 5 sale rating.
I'm gonna have to go 5 out of 5. First one of the decade for me.
I'm gonna go with a decimal here. I'm gonna say 4.973.
It was a fantastic movie. The actors in this, you can really tell they gave it all. The cool thing about it is that it looks like it's a one-sequence shot when it actually isn't. It was just edited that way. So from a production standpoint, I really just admired it.
As a movie lover, I like the one-shot continuous, and it was really interesting how editing and, you know, story played together.
I saw an interview the other day. It took about 6-7 months for them to rehearse the entire movie with the effects and the dialogue and everything.
I actually watched it twice. The second time I got out of the movie, I was like, you know, this isn't a great story. This is not like a, you know, large battle, Nazis fighting, you know, Nazis fighting the French. It wasn't Nazis at the time. It was Germans fighting the French. It wasn't a large battle. There was no large battle sequences. But it was a good personal journey that the story was, you know, secondhand to the personal experience. And I really liked the personal experience of this movie.
Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of Spoilercast.
If there's another movie you'd like us to review, please let us know in the comments below.
For me, I want to see possibly a Netflix film with Mark Wahlberg and Post Malone. It looks pretty good. Hopefully I can do a spoilercast on that one.
I'm Aisling Glocke.
I'm John Watson.
I guess I'll sign off here to Aisling and Cameron and the crew. Spinnaker, working for you.